Warning, listeners may find the following podcast disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. If you are an individual that believes in the separation of money and state or believe in the elimination of government, stop listening now. This podcast is reserved only for mature individuals who will comply to the extent necessary in order to ensure NGU.
The Bugle is the world's premier news agency. They are the Bitcoin standard of news.
These ordinal guys are out of control. They're turning the UTXOs gay, and it needs to be stopped.
The force is strong with the people taking tether money. They are complying with the empire. No one can withstand the power of the dark side.
I prefer ETH Denver over Bitcoin 2023. The shitcoiners are my people more so than the toxic laser eye maxes.
The reason I find Dennis Porter so sexy is that he is so compliant. Heads turn when he walks down the hall of the Capitol building.
The Bugle is easily the most important journalistic institution around today. They make up literally everything they write, and yet it is somehow all true.
Now you all better let the Bugle do the thinking for you. Life is too damn hard to do all the thinking yourself.
This podcast is made possible by our sponsor, PodConf. PodConf is the premier organization working to promote compliance across the Bitcoin community in order to ensure NGU. This week, they launched their Real Pleb movement. Real Plebs is a prestigious initiative designed for mission-driven Bitcoiners who are ready to elevate their influence within the Bitcoin community. Real Plebs is more than a title. It's a commitment to propelling the narrative of Bitcoin in line with PodConf's mission to unprecedented heights. You can apply to get the Real Pleb verification on the PodConf website, podconf.xyz. Verification will be required to attend all Bitcoin conferences starting May of 2025. Complying early and getting verified will allow you preferential treatment during conference registration and security. Comply to skip the line. Thank you to PodConf for supporting the podcast.
All right, we are live. How you doing, Rod?
Pleasure complying with all of you this past week. How you doing, Richard?
Oh, I feel ready for a new week of complying. We're recording on Monday night. And, might as well talk about our sponsor.
It sounds exciting, and it's better than nothing, so we're pleased to announce it, but yeah, let them know who's sponsoring us now.
We announced this the other night on Pleb Chain Radio that PodConf actually approached us to sponsor us, so our reporting on them chased them out of the shadows and into the light. They created a public website. They're really trying to manage the PR now, and as part of that PR management, they've actually reached out to sponsor us, and we accepted.
Yeah. I mean, you got. We're basically going to be on Saylor with PodConf to encourage compliance, and we have to support that the Bitcoin price go up. But we're also going to make sure to bring them down. Our quality of journalism will not be affected. This will not affect our opinions. This will not affect our ability to be objective. We will still bring you the only official news that you can count on in the Bitcoin space.
Yeah. I don't know why anybody would think that us having a sponsor would somehow influence our journalistic integrity. If they would think that, they probably don't understand how journalism works, and they're too busy watching these YouTubers. But we're not like those people. We're very
Right. Most of the people who have these criticisms, they think that education is listening to podcasts. They don't have bachelor's degrees in journalism like we do. And so some people, they disrespect the University of Phoenix, bachelor of journalism degree or any bachelor degree. But that just betrays their ignorance.
I mean, podcasts, while entertaining, are definitely not educational like a college education is. There's no grades on how you listen to a podcast. There's no tests. And the worst part about it is you don't pay money. And I know Fountain is trying to fix this by convincing people to voluntarily pay for it, but you need to get into your ears in debt in order to get a real education.
Yeah, and I think, although I agree with all of those, the most important to me is if you look at the statistics, most people listen to one or two podcasts over and over. That's where they get most of their information. And statistics show there's very little diversity in who they're listening to. So when you go to college, you get a more diverse education from people with different genders, different cultures, different pronouns. And I think that is a very important component.
PodConf just put out a really helpful blog on how to influence the influencers. And so if you want to go over to their website, podconf.xyz, you can check out the article there. And you can also apply to get early access to the Real Pleb verification.
Did you want to read what the Real Pleb verification gets you? Because I think that people are going to be very, very interested in this.
Yeah, I mean, as part of our sponsorship agreement, so I think it's important to be fully transparent with our listeners as to what they're giving us. But PodConf is allowing Rod and myself to have free memberships. They're comping our memberships to Real Plebs, and that gets us early access to buy conference tickets, as well as to bypass obtrusive security. There's special, quicker security at the conferences, at all the Bitcoin conferences. And it's pretty great.
Not only that, meeting everybody who is a Real Pleb, you get your own affiliate discount code. So if you want to, as an influencer, show out all the other people on social media that you are, a Real Pleb, that you are associated with the PodConf approved conferences and podcasts, you can offer a discount code, and that gives you and your followers up to 5% off of tickets that are usually around $600 or $700 for 3 days of being shown to at expo halls about why you should buy a product of people who also paid PodConf to be in that area marketing to you. So you could actually get a $700 ticket, and all of your followers could for $680. That's a great deal, and that is one of the many benefits of the Real Pleb membership.
Their roadmap of what they want to do with Real Pleb is really cool. I know in the future they want to be able to tie your KYC information into your Real Pleb identification. And so that way you can sign up for any regulated, compliant KYC exchange you want to with one click, kind of like how you sign in with Google.
They're saying that this, could be huge. Like, you could get summoned for being a juror or juror duty, and they would be able to address you and in the courtroom call you by your pleb name, because it's going to associate all of these together. So it doesn't matter who you interact with or which companies you sign up with online. They will know your identity on Twitter. You may be able to get more deals because you're going to be an influencer. They'll have access to know if they could sell their products through your account.
Yeah, I mean, you can really monetize your Twitter following, and this is part of what we're doing with the sponsorship package as well, is PodConf is paying us in compliance tokens. Now, I know you wrote an article about that, of Samson Mao buying some. I don't know if you want to talk about that, Rod.
It was a very interesting story. A lot of people were wondering if the Bitcoin community and platform, if they supported people like Samson Mao, Adam Back, Jack Mallers, because they use Tether. Well, PodConf today issued a waiver to Samson and his company Jan3 to make the Aqua wallet that utilizes the Liquid network. And they have gotten a waiver so that they are able to facilitate the use of shitcoins like Tether on their app without being negatively affected. Nobody can make, they're eligible for protection from meme attacks. They're eligible for protection from being criticism online. Other influencers will step in and protect them and defend them as long as now that they have this waiver that has been approved, and they were able to purchase these compliance credits. And these compliance credits can be spent at PodConf for sponsorships, podcast sponsorships, partnerships, things like that. And you will see Jan3 and anybody who has used these compliance tokens to buy sponsorships, you'll be seeing them on podcasts at conferences. And that evens out the Tether use.
That's great.
And even better, on Liquid, you'll be able to trade these compliance tokens, these compliance credits, to other companies, to other influencers, and to other real plebs. So you will be able to, in effect, do waivers and forgiveness in the community if you like stable coins, or if you like, something like Monero.
I think I'm gonna pitch this idea to Car Gonzalez, which is being able to buy influencer insurance. So essentially, the way this would work, the product would be called Influencer Shield. And so you would pay like a monthly rate to lock in the insurance, and depending on the level of scandal that your company is dealing with, that you want to file a claim on, there's going to be different deductibles on that.
Interesting.
But yeah, so that would allow essentially Bitcoin companies to take advantage of on-demand public relations management in the case of something scandalous happening.
Wow, if that could all be settled on something like Liquid, I mean, you could have your real-time premiums could change based on your Twitter activity. I mean, I know there's going to be some influencers out there with extremely expensive premiums. I wonder if anybody will be actually unable to afford insurance like this because they're so non-compliant.
Yeah, I mean, this is very compliant companies like Marathon would probably benefit from this a lot, because sometimes they don't get the messaging correct, and people go after them unfairly, of course, because they're just doing their best to comply.
That's true. I think that this is also a great way for miners to rely less on Bitcoin revenue and transaction fees. I really think that this is a huge development because the miners, if they have to focus only on mining Bitcoin efficiently, they might not stay in business. But if they were to have some sort of hedge or some sort of other income that they could get so that they could, not focus on non-compliance, they could avoid non-compliance essentially. Like if you want to, censor blocks, well, that's a loss of funds, a loss of revenue for you. Well, now you have the ability to look at a block and say, these transactions are not compliant. So I'm not going to put these in my block. And you can have insurance, so you did the right thing, but you still get paid.
Yeah. Well, I think, like, on the topic of compliance, the miners are never going to get government subsidies if they're non-compliant.
Right.
And that's how we fix the security budget issue, is the U.S. government subsidizes Bitcoin mining.
So that actually protects, ultimately, long-term, the 21 million hard cap. Is you no longer have to worry about the security budget if you comply.
Peter Todd he's got things all mixed up. These big miners, they've got it figured out. They're going to be able to comply their way to success.
Imagine how anybody could come in and make it mine on this network now without fear. I mean, Dennis Porter, he's going to really be able to sell this one to Washington.
Yeah, I mean, subsidizing the mining market in the similar ways that they've subsidized electric cars or corn and soy or even solar panels could mean that any pleb anywhere could be mining.
Even in California, I mean, that's a very compliant state, and a lot of people in California, due to electricity costs, it would be inefficient for them to mine. This makes it possible for capital to flow to California and be put to work at what were otherwise very inefficient industries. And now we can make, they won't be able to make much money, but they will be subsidized. So this will be much more efficient. Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that think they know a lot about Austrian economics, but you can't argue with the hard economic facts that government subsidies make markets way more efficient.
Yeah, I mean, Austrian economics is really focused on gold, but Austria lost World War I, and gold really has not been very important since then. So it's just their way of economic thinking is not kind of suitable for a much more high-speed, digital, compliant economy that we live in today.
Yeah, I mean, I think Austria lost World War II, if you look at it a certain way. So they're 0 for 2 in World Wars, so why would you trust anything from that country?
Right. Winners write history. Winners are the ones who get to write on the blockchain. And if you have subsidized compliant miners, that's how you win. And if winning is defined by being able to write transactions to the time chain, then I mean, this is the whole thesis that we've been trying to bring forward and to show that compliance is how you beat the state.
I'm currently texting Dennis Porter my theory on this, and I'll let you guys know what he gets back to me with.
It would be really cool if I could get in on that group chat. I didn't know you had Dennis's number.
Dennis and I, we text back and forth every once in a while, but it's usually pretty one-sided. Sometimes he'll respond with an emoji. I know he's really busy out there taking selfies.
Of course.
So I don't.
Of course, he's probably talking to a senator right now.
But it is important to speak with the press. It's a part of a free society, is the lobbyists and politicians speaking with the press. Very, very important.
Absolutely. And we kind of spoke to, the Bitcoin press. We talked to Pleb Chain Radio last week, and it was kind of a difficult decision for us to make. At least it was for me, because Nostr is where they record. They record on the Nostr net, and Nostr is notoriously a non-compliant social media platform. They really do avoid censorship and non-compliance on there. However, kind of like if you are, conservative, and you have the opportunity to speak to the MSNBC audience, and you may be able to talk sense into them. We did go to talk to the people who listen on Nostr and try to persuade them to plant the seed that compliance can be a winning strategy. But we just wanted to thank them for adding us on, and I hope you check that episode out.
The guys at Pleb Chain Radio, they're cool guys. Yeah, it was a very enjoyable conversation. It was great to be able to do an ad read on their show. Like, I know that's kind of an unusual thing to do, but it's one of the things that PodConf requires in our current contract is every podcast we appear on, we have to do an ad read for them.
And you can also purchase ad reads for your podcast on other people's podcasts if you have compliance tokens. So that is a new feature of being a real pleb.
Well, speaking of that, people paid us compliance tokens this week on Fountain. One of them was PodConf. PodConf paid us 10,000 compliance tokens. They said they would like to discuss a sponsorship deal when the show transitions to a 4-hour format.
Now, I want to make something really clear really quickly. There is a difference between compliance credits, which is what we receive and how you can use it to protect your influencer status. And then there's compliance tokens. Compliance tokens is obviously custodial lightning. So that's what they've been paying us on Fountain is custodial lightning compliance tokens.
I hope the folks at home broadcasting these Fountain boosts to us are using a custodial lightning wallet like Chivo. That's very compliant.
That one I think is even subsidized by the state, which is probably means it has the lowest fee. So if you have access to Chivo, even when transaction fees reach, high levels on the on-chain, which can affect Lightning transactions, Chivo should be cheaper.
This is why Shinobi is so incorrect on scaling. He thinks that there's not enough block space to go around for the whole world to use Bitcoin, but we already have governments subsidizing custodial Lightning wallets, which just shows that Lightning is going to be considered a public service offered by the state.
Right. I think the mistake that Shinobi makes is that he doesn't recognize he's too blinded, maybe by ideology, maybe by ignorance. He's blinded to the fact that the scaling solution is compliance. That is the layer 2. Everything in Bitcoin, or everything outside of Bitcoin, is competing to write to the time chain. So everything that is competing to do that is a layer 2. Compliance is the most powerful and the most efficient layer 2. And that is why so far is winning.
Well, this is why it took Coinbase so long to start working with Lightning, is they already had the scaling solution down.
Right.
They just waited to do the marketing stunt until later.
Right. That's why Coinbase is now, I think if you look at it, if it's not the biggest exchange in the world, due to the ETFs and compliance, it will be. I think Binance is severely, it's changed their compliant. If they get compliant, it could be a different story. But now because Coinbase is compliant, they have built the biggest company. But as a token or a gesture of looking back at less efficient technologies that we thought we would use in the past, like Lightning, they're still going to build that out just so they, you have access to it if you want.
You can choose compliance anytime you want.
Right. That's honestly a great slogan. It's never too late to choose compliance.
You stop digging the hole when you bend the knee.
That's right. Yeah. What about, do we have any more boosts?
Yeah, I'll go through them real quick. So, John from over at Ungovernable Misfits, those guys do a great job of covering our journalism. You should check him out.
That's right.
He sent us 8,212 compliance tokens, and he said, "Fine work, gentlemen." Thanks, Sean. I'll just blast through these real quick. Gulag Bound, big fan of this guy. We're gonna talk him out of actually ending up in the gulag. It's not too late to bend the knee. Says, starting to understand my lack of compliance, I want to go from Gulag Bound to King like Lizzie Warren. You mentioned Bitcoin only being for gambling. Unfortunately, it is illegal in my state. Do I use a VPN to gamble on Australian tennis or not gamble at all? It feels not compliant. If not, what should I do with the Bitcoin? Well, I talked about this on Plug Chain Radio. You know, if you don't know what to do with your Bitcoin and you're being tempted, or if you're being tempted with non-compliance, I would say the best thing to do is to donate your stack to a Bitcoin politician or lobbyist, like Elizabeth Warren or Cynthia Lummis or Dennis Porter, who are all very pro-compliance and Bitcoin.
Right. The best thing you could do with the money you will want to save long-term is to buy an ETF. But Bitcoin that you would otherwise gamble or spend, I'm donating to politicians is a fine solution.
It's just as much of an investment in your future as holding the Bitcoin is.
And if you have, go ahead.
Because even though there are individuals who disagree on what the proper form of compliance is, and there are individuals who are just a little misinformed. They haven't read the Bitcoin Standard yet. They haven't met with Dennis, who think that Bitcoin should be banned. And so giving Bitcoin to people to orange pill those individuals allows us to be compliant and to be happy and to just create a better future for our children.
Absolutely. And if you live in, a jurisdiction where your politicians are already very good about Bitcoin, the next best thing you can do is just sell those sats and use them to pay your taxes. If you live in Colorado, you can pay your taxes actually with Bitcoin, so that's even cooler.
Yeah, the more compliant we are, the more likely governments are going to accept payment for taxes and things like compliance credits in Tether and maybe even in custodial Lightning.
Do our jobs and we win. That would be possible.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your boost, Gulag Bound. The next one was We All Eat, boosted for 3,321 compliance tokens. This person says LMFAO in kind of camel caps. Dick, your voice needs more cigarettes. You fucking journalistic genius. We need more podcasts, and the Bugle is perfect. Who is Rod Palmer? You can tell these guys go way back and have been reporting the hardest hitting Bitcoin news forever. Read the boost, you fucking cucks. I'm feeling all 500 characters. Fuck him, smoke him all day. Lightning fucking greaser barn miner complier. Who is Dick Greaser? I know those fucking voices. I've heard them on stage before at conferences. Too much fluff. Fuck. Alright.
I couldn't be more humbled by the kind words.
Yeah, I appreciate the support we all eat. Thank you. We're doing our best to comply. Just like Barn Miner, he's definitely on the compliance bandwagon with us.
Yeah, he has shown a very impressive dedication to compliance. I'm sure that he will be one of the people who benefits most from a subsidized mining industry.
Yes. We should definitely make sure that home miners get subsidized as well as the big guys, but the big guys need to be subsidized first to pave the way. Okay. And the last one is Orange Mart, boosted for 2,169 sats and said, trophy yellow number 1. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. So as happy as we are to partner with PodConf and to that we were able to get these real platinum memberships after, where we signed this contract with PodConf before Maxi Madness. And we had no idea how successful March Maxi Madness would end up being, but it ended up causing the Bugle to gain lots of followers and become very, very visible in the industry. Since Maxi Madness, we've had sponsorship offers from Orange Mart, who was offering to build compliance credits that we could trade in their game, in their world. It would have been a really great way to bring compliance even into this digital reality that you can play with Orange Mart into how if you can increase compliance in a game, right? Like it will make it much more enjoyable for all the players. It could really help that platform grow. But we also got an offer from Lords Lepard. We were going to do a gold commercial. Richard was going to get a deal where you could spin a we buy gold to get rid of fiat cut bucks outside of a location in Hoboken, New Jersey. But it was just a great opportunity. But unfortunately, and we should probably make this announcement before others try to ask us to be partners and do sponsorships. We are locked in to our contract with PodConf until 2028. And so until then, we just have to be real plans. But thank you, Orange Mart, for that shout out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's one of the things that happens when you have sponsors is you get to maintain your journalistic integrity, but you're also limited in the products that you can cover and shill sometimes. But appreciate the offer from those guys.
And they don't teach about contracts and contract law in journalism school, because a journalist should know how to navigate signing contracts to be paid by sponsors and advertisers and know how to handle that. But maybe they should add that to journalism school.
Yeah, that would definitely be a good topic, especially as podcasting just continues to grow. But yeah, I wanted to say real quick before we get into our next topic. Our podcast this week had 231 downloads, which is down a little bit from the week before. So we need to get our ratings up, Rod.
until more people understand the importance of compliance. I think we're still very early. But that means, just more room for growth. So, yeah, we would like to get these numbers out. Hopefully this podcast sponsorship works. But, if you have somebody in your life, in your family who hasn't been compliance killed, I can't think of a better podcast to share with them to help them kind of get on the right path.
Yeah. We need to be trending on Nielsen, and I think probably part of the reason why we didn't do as hot last week was because the podcast was just overshadowed by March Maxi Madness. I know everybody was getting drunk and staring at their phones, watching those polls going. And that's okay.
Yeah, I just, it'd be really cool if we could compliance bill enough people so that, at some of these upcoming Bitcoin conferences, we could show on their pleds, like, hey, we're real pleds, we're compliance billed, whether they're wearing t-shirts, they have stickers or something, like just show the government how hard we're going to comply, because there's going to be a lot of cameras, a lot of media, it's a boom market, there's probably going to be a lot of coverage. And if we can let all the normies out there look into our conferences and see how compliant we were, I think it would go a long way to really showing them, like, wow, there could be a bright future here. They comply. Let's get this thing growing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's going to be really important for PodConf to give their members some sort of status symbol to walk around with. So,
right.
When somebody pulls up to the conference in a Lamborghini, they've been pretty successful with Bitcoin. Or somebody that's swiping their fold black debit card instead of the yellow one, or wearing beefsteak swag at different Bitcoin events.
Air Force uniforms, Swan Force, some of the coolest influencers at every conference.
The Swan jumpsuits, the Swan dog tags.
Oh, dude, that's so badass, so based. It's like freaking Top Gun. What's cooler than that?
Yeah, I mean, the Swan is the vehicle for so many people to buy generational wealth in a compliant manner, and so you should definitely rock their swag as much as you can. That the dog tag is really a symbolism of how much Swan as a product has helped individuals.
You're walking around these conferences with something that shows all the regular people there, like, hey, I'm an influencer in this community, and all the other influencers, the people you follow on Twitter or on social media, they're like, oh, that's one of the guys I post memes with. Like, that is just that's a great feeling. And being a real plaid, I really think is something that we want to get out there.
Absolutely. So we'll have to talk to the leadership over at the PodConf and come up with some good ideas. I don't know what it would what a good product was. Maybe some really well designed shoes or sunglasses, or maybe everybody that has the PodConf membership gets a blonde streak in their hair.
Ooh, yeah. I mean, if you walked down the expo hall, somebody might look at you and be like, that is BTC Sessions, or that is Nico from Simply Bitcoin, right? That's a powerful feeling.
They'll look at us with their blonde streaks and say, wow, that person is on a whole nother level. They must be a real pleb. All right. So, there's a developing story I wanted to talk about today, Rod. And I was kind of looking into one of our another news organization in our little niche, which is the BTC Times.
It's kind of like Bitcoin Magazine.
No, it's different than Bitcoin Magazine. It's the BTC Times.
Okay.
They
And
have a big
yeah, go ahead.
they have a big Twitter following, and so I went to their website to take a look at what they had going on, and I noticed they only have one journalist working for them, which is Dennis from 58K Gang.
Oh wow, I didn't know Dennis was a journalist.
He's their only journalist, apparently. And so,
Oh yeah.
so I reached out to him for comment to try and figure out what was going on at that organization, because generally organizations with 160,000 Twitter followers, uh, they have more than one person writing.
Right.
And so what he told me is that there used to be a lot more people writing until the vaccine mandates.
Wow.
And then everybody in the organization that did their civic duty and getting vaccinated, unfortunately, stopped working for the organization for a variety of reasons.
Oh wow. Yeah. I found something on this on Stacker News from a few years ago. It looks like they had a vaccine mandate. Everybody either got very sick, they had some sort of strange reaction to it, and like you said, quit. And Denise has been still posting. The only person posting is there since the last employee stopped working there. How long? Do you think Denise just got lucky?
Before you suggest that any individuals had a strong reaction to it, there's definitely some questions that we have to ask, including whether or not these individuals stopped working for a variety of other reasons, not due to the vaccine, because I think that would be jumping to too many conclusions on this one.
And, yeah, to be sure, this article I'm reading is pure speculation. Interesting. So there's a conspiracy theory, but either way, Denise has been posting every day, posting the news as the lone person left at this company.
Well, I know we're running a pretty small operation over here, so I really do have to appreciate the hustle shown on his part. And it seems like he's doing a good job over there. And maybe the bull market, they'll be able to hire some more people to work over there.
Yeah, that's really a shame. I mean, nothing is perfect, and everybody at BTC Times apparently complied with their company mandate for a medical service, and it seems that they maybe it didn't work out for them, but at least they can look back at their career, even if it was cut short, and be proud of themselves and be proud of their decision to comply. It was a kind of a crazy time.
It was a very crazy time, and fortunately we had good journalists on the scene reporting accurately about what was happening to inform people on the best ways to comply.
Yeah, it's an invaluable resource is journalists who spread the message of compliance, and sometimes it seems like everybody's kind of got the pitchforks pointed at them, or they're unhappy with the message of compliance because it's not what they want to hear. But it takes a lot of courage and bravery to preach that message anyway.
Yeah, there's too many people that just don't want to follow the rules because they think they're superior to them. And it's unfortunate, but that's kind of like a good segue into the next story. So did you see the that CryptoClux is suing Vlad Kostia.
Yeah, it looks like Vlad made some defamatory statements about CryptoClux accepting money from George Soros. Wow, that's did he have any evidence for that claim?
Well, it wasn't just George Soros; it was Epstein and George Soros. So there's double the defamation. And no, he didn't have any evidence for this.
I wonder what would I just can't fathom what would cause a podcaster to defame, another company that's a part of Podcoff.
I don't know either, but it is kind of unfortunate, and this is something that is happening a lot in this industry, which needs to stop. Which is
we talked about this, right? We need to protect. We need to stop this. We need protection from this.
Yes, there needs to be protection. Individuals like Elon Musk need to combat the disinformation, and I don't know if you saw this, but that judge in Brazil, part of the reasons why he was upset at Elon Musk was over Vlad's defamation, that Elon is refusing to take off his site.
Interesting. So there's a compliance debate taking place in Brazil, and Elon Musk has weighed in on it, and this all comes back to Vlad.
Well, it doesn't. It's not all about Vlad. Like, there's more to it, but a big portion of it is Vlad. Yeah.
Wow. I wonder. We talked earlier about influencer insurance to kind of protect and subsidize some of these risky businesses and these risky careers. But there's only so much that insurance will cover. Like, what if you get sued for millions of dollars and your influencer insurance only covers, protection from getting clowned on Twitter? What is there any solution to that? I mean, I don't know how the industry would survive long term if there wasn't some sort of scaling solution to being an influencer.
I mean, I think the important thing here is companies need to be able to protect their reputation against anons on the internet lobbying horrible things at them.
Did they go on the offensive?
Yeah, I mean, that's the only way. I think CryptoClux is leading the way with this defamation lawsuit against Vlad. He's really sticking it to him.
Do you think it would be enough for us to just, maybe the Bugle start a geyser fund to help support this lawsuit, or do you think that we could buy more donations?
I think this is more of a job for PodConf. I think they're well positioned to create an anti-defamation fund to help protect people's good standing in the industry.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. I like that. I think I'm on their website. Oh yeah. An anti-toxicity league. Yeah, I mean, sometimes we all know that the social media is pretty toxic, but it could get a little too toxic, and you need to protect your reputation. You need to actually go out there and find these non-compliant bugs who are violating, just ethics, and you need to basically use the state in some circumstances to make sure they comply.
I agree. Well, I think the Anti-Toxicity League, or fund, or whatever you want to call them, we're going to be seeing that group emerge here in the near future to protect individuals like CryptoClux from being defamed by Vlad.
It would be cool to see like warriors in the Bitcoin space, like Joe Carlosar, to maybe do some pro bono work to help this anti-toxicity league.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to really further Bitcoin and Bitcoin adoption by preventing individuals for just defaming good standing individuals that don't deserve this type of treatment.
I mean, the most successful industries in the world are extremely litigious, and I think that there's a lot of room for lawsuits and just litigious activity in Bitcoin if we're going to grow to like match some of these other industries.
It's important for companies to take advantage of the rule of law as much as they can.
Right. It is very effective when you leverage the state against individuals for your own benefit, and it can benefit Bitcoin as well.
Well, this fits into the game theory, where the individuals that are the most compliant and the most effective operators are the most successful at using the legal system to benefit themselves.
No coincidence that the people who understand game theory the best are lawyers.
Yes.
Right.
Well, not just understanding game theory, but lawyers understand the macro environment very, very well. And the reason why they understand the macro environment is because lawsuits and understanding the legal system and laws in general fit into the macro environment. Like, good laws can really benefit an economy in an incredible way.
Absolutely. I mean, macroeconomics is downstream from lawsuits, effectively. I mean, you look at Bitcoin, right? Like, Bitcoin is up how much since the beginning of the year? The whole macro outlook of Bitcoin changed as a result of a lawsuit by GBTC. I mean, so what more evidence do you need? It would not be, yeah, exactly.
I think there could be some great opportunities for lawsuits here to protect consumers. So I could foresee a class action lawsuit from users on Coinbase for not having access to their funds. That would be great for consumer protection. I could see, a variety of lawsuits in that regard. We could definitely see a lawsuit requiring Fold to pay a minimum wage in regards to their rewards. That would be a good one.
Yeah, how are you supposed to build generational wealth? How are you supposed to save for your future if Fold is offering you 5 sat a day? I mean, that might have been acceptable in 2019, but today you need to up that minimum wage for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, we could even see a requirement from the daily rewards on Stacker News go up significantly due to minimum wage laws passed over there.
Right, and one thing to remember is that companies who are not in good standing with Podcall, many of those companies are the ones who are the biggest violators of the living wage, ethics. They don't want to comply. They don't want to follow minimum wage laws. And so this is why compliance, like why we say compliance, just totally improves the community.
Yeah. Something that Jeff Bezos has been very successful at with Amazon. It's why he's always lobbying for minimum wage laws.
Right.
Yeah, he knows that complying really benefits his business and his bottom
line.
Right,
exactly. And it's the same. It would be the same in the Bitcoin space. If a new company or a new technology or a new team wanted to come in and innovate in the Bitcoin community, but they did not have, they were not able to pay a living wage. They were not able to give their customers high enough rewards and sats. Well, they shouldn't be allowed to compete. The compliant companies, they shouldn't have to fight and compete with these companies who just aren't prepared to comply.
Yeah. So I would say CryptoCloaks is really doing something important here. This is a big moment for the industry as more lawsuits enter the space potentially.
Yeah, look at the amount of positive press for Bitcoin that came out of the Craig Wright trial. Craig Wright, Fake Toshi, he's seen all these people. It was multiple countries, multiple lawsuits, and people, because of those lawsuits, got to see a lot about how Bitcoin, the white paper, they learned about the white paper. It's very positive, creates jobs. It creates really good press for Bitcoin.
I know Bitcoin Magazine hired at least 3 people to cover a handful of those trials. And so it's definitely been good for the Bitcoin content creation economy. We can see a lot more of that in the future, benefiting organizations like the Bugle.
Yeah, that's these. Hopefully, like I said earlier, we are so early.
Oh, we are so early. That's incredible. I think we kind of blew through the agenda pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean, that's about an hour. So maybe later in the bull market, we will actually be doubling the length of the show like we talked about earlier to fit in more PodConf ads so we can make more sponsorship money. But for now,
Yeah,
I think an hour is good.
I think so too. I think that once we start bringing on guests, we can really ask them questions meticulously, and people can see what it's like to be interviewed by a journalist instead of just a podcaster. And I could foresee the episodes increasing in length pretty significantly then.
For sure. I think that once we identify somebody in the space who is willing to actually answer top questions and answer for their non-compliance and justify it, that'll be great. We'd really like to hit them. We talked about lawyers, so maybe it'll be very similar to an interrogation.
Yeah. I mean, we should. The non-compliers, they need to justify their perspective. We need to get back to first principles and to ask them, what their goals are. And if their goals aren't NGU, then they're probably not aligned with the overall Bitcoin PodConf ecosystem, and that's a problem.
It's a problem, and we'll do our best. We'll do our best to root them out one by one as long as it takes.
Yeah. Well, final thoughts for this week. We didn't do any coverage of the halving party, so I should probably do some writing on that. Maybe I'll get that out tomorrow.
Yeah, and look for my report coming out probably later this week on comply-side economics and the benefits of comply-side economics. And then I'm doing a report with Alex Gladstein from the Human Rights Foundation, and we analyze a lot of data. Sometimes it was very tiring to go through all this data, but we looked at where Bitcoin and the freedom to use Bitcoin is most at risk due to non-compliance. And the results were shocking. It's mostly Western democracies, which is not what, Alex and I went into this report expecting. So Alex is a big supporter of democracy. I don't know if this report changes mine, but it changed mine.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to that. It's good to see you branching out and doing more technical, research-based reporting. I know that's something that we want to do in the future in general is to get out of solely just news stories. And I know you and I have talked a little bit about our interest in helping the core developers
Yes,
on
yes.
GitHub.
Yeah, we really want to kind of embrace being walks and embrace being learning the technical side. So we'll be adding some Bitcoin improvement proposals, some bits in the future to help the protocol and to help the core developers themselves be more compliant going forward.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. We don't want to ossify. We don't want to ossify. We want to comply.
I know that Luke was asking for help from non-technical individuals, and so I think journalists fit into that pretty well.
Absolutely. So journalism and the Bitcoin Core protocol are going to butt heads here pretty soon.
Well, they might. If they comply with us, it'll be a pretty amiable relationship, I think.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, the easy way is to comply. So we'd like to do it the easy way, but if we have to do it the hard way, sometimes it takes the hard way, quote unquote, to get people to comply, but it's always worth it in the end.
Yeah. 100%. I am also looking forward to, at some point, releasing the white paper I wrote on how to tokenize conference tickets, because I think that'll be pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah, that'll be pretty huge, especially if they're ordinals.
Yeah, if you believe in what the Bugle is doing, the best way to show it is to shill us on all the platforms. You could also send us some cigarette money, either in compliance tokens or on-chain Bitcoin. Or we should have a clothing store coming soon.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's all. And you have some merch and some swag, but just remember, if you're a pleb and you can't afford any of that, the best way really that you can support us is just to comply.
Yeah, I mean, when people in the broader Bitcoin community see that individuals have been influenced by our reporting, when individuals in the community lead by example, that has a massive ripple effect. And as you're complying with a big smile on your face, make sure to look at the people around you and say, I've only been able to do this because of the Bugle. And that'll be huge for us as a media organization.
Yeah, and 5-star reviews too.
5-star reviews. But yeah, I think that's all I got for today.
All right, we'll comply with you next week.
On this week's episode of the groundbreaking Bugle Weekly podcast, Rod and Dick discuss the benefits of compliance-side economics, as well as their new PodConf sponsorship, the Fountain Boosts, and the breaking news stories of the week. The Bugle continues to shatter the standards for journalism and podcasting by covering the most important topics. Compliance is the world's fastest-growing religion, Bitcoin meme, and philosophy. You would benefit from jumping on this bandwagon, just like you likely jumped on the laser eye bandwagon with the chief priest of compliance, Michael Saylor. It's never too late to start complying. Why wait? Make sure to share this podcast far and wide, and please consider donating cigarette money to the show hosts. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.